Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be doing a playthrough of Grimcoven. This is Awaken Realms' most recent game that is now on GameFound. This is a prototype that they sent to me so you can take a look at what the game has to offer and see if this is something you're interested in. Of course, the link to the GameFound page will be in the description of this video. Please click on that, give it a follow, and you'll even get maybe a special extra following bonus for joining early. This is a 1 to 4 player dark Victorian fantasy game where you're going to take on the role of these hunters that are going to sign covens so they can take on giant monsters and evil that are threatening the land. So once you sign this, they're going to take you to where you're supposed to go and destroy these monsters in a huge boss battling format. But it has some very unique things that I'm excited to show off, and I hope you're excited to see this new game by Awaken Realms. And of course, I do want to mention this is a prototype, so anything you see in this game can be changed going through production and through the GameFound pay or GameFound crowdfunding extravaganza that is going to be part of this. Of course, more things might be added, and I also want to mention that the rules to this game, of course, are a living document at the time of this recording. Who knows, they might have actually become updated even as I'm making the video. Who knows? So as you watch this, just get an idea of how the mechanics and everything work, but I do know that this game could change going forward since this is a prototype. Now, if you're excited to see if our hunters can take on these giant bosses in Grimcoven, then I need you to meet me at the table. The cool thing is this game comes with a Grimcoven pact here. So it says, "Of my free will and in sound mind, I swear this solemn oath. I pledge myself to the great hunt. In the face of fear, I shall not waver. In the face of death, I shall fight to the last. When lament calls me, I shall resist temptation. And should I fail to abide by the sacred oath, I ask my brothers and sisters to put a price on me. So says I, the hunter of Grimcoven." Now, the cool thing is it actually comes with a quill pen. One of these pens. I have never used one of these pens, and it actually comes with a complete, this set of ink, which is actually supposed to kind of look like blood. And who knows, it actually might be somebody's blood. I don't think it's going to. But you're supposed to dip your quill in there and then you're supposed to sign it here. I've never done this before, so I don't think I'm going to. Oh, what the heck. Let's give this a shot. Okay, so you're supposed to kind of sign it right down here. I'm sure this is going to be an absolute disaster here, but we'll give it a shot. All right, let's see if I can do this. Oh, let's see here. I've never actually ever used one of these pens before. Oh my gosh, this is actually kind of cool. No, look at this. It actually kind of writes. That's kind of neat. Let's see here if I can remember how to make all these letters. I don't even remember how to do this. All right, first I have to remember my name. Here we go, R right there, all right. And there you go, let's get an N in here. Oh, we need more ink. All right, let's see here. Oh gosh, this is just a mess. Look at this, absolute mess. Something like that, right? There you go, there you go. Did I do it? I guess so. There we go. Oh, that's pretty awesome. I can't remember how to do any of this stuff. But I can't remember how I use cursive. I haven't used cursive in ages. All right. So there we go. I signed it. All right. I guess we signed it. We are now good to go. Not only that, I managed to get it all over my hand. So that was awesome. Now in this prototype, we're going to do a full setup. Like I said, everything could be subject to change, and there's only a few things that they sent me. I don't have much to show off when it comes to how much you're going to get in the box. This, of course, is just a small prototype, and we're going to have just 2 particular missions we could go through. When you start out the game, it's going to ask you to take secret card 101 and choose one of the people to play. So here are 2 secret 101 cards. We have the Convergence, and we have the Undead General. We're going to play this one since it now says from now on you can play Scenario 1, and I think Scenario 1 is a very good place to start. So we're going to take on the Convergence. Down here at the bottom it says, "Loth is one of the 5 dead rivers that cut through Crowholm, carrying unspeakable things in its murky waters. The people who live on its banks are strange, yet their sightings of an unusual convergence of stone and pure lament should not be dismissed." So that is going to be the mission we're going to go on. We're going to check out the prologue, and then we're going to get into the setup of our characters, the boss, and the board. The hunt does not start well. As your quill hovers over the parchment with the coven, a single drop of blood falls from its tip and makes a weird blot on the surface of the document. A barely visible wisp of lament rises up from it. Is this an omen? A warning? No matter. You leave the signature sealing your fate. We already did that. Signed and good to go. Soon after, a stagecoach takes you to the marshy flatlands surrounding the River Leth. You scour the countryside for footprints, talk to strange, fish-eyed people, and note their stories to find anything that could help you find the convergence or defeat it. The stories are wild, but have one thing in common. The convergence seems to be sentient whirlwind of pure lament and of objects it picked up while cleaving its way out of some ancient necropolis. The thought of facing such forces gives you pause, but it's too late for second thoughts. You will succeed or become a cautionary tale from which other hunters can learn. The next thing we'll do is set up our board for the particular encounter. There's this river running through it, and it also has a lot of other tiles and empty spaces and a large blocking piece of terrain right there. And I'll talk about all of this as we quickly pan around this board that it's set up. This is a very panned out view of the map. I will not be panned out this far during our playthrough, but I just wanted to demonstrate exactly what it looks like and what you're seeing out here on the map. First, we have portals. These are super cool. And of course, this is all, again, prototype stuff, but Awaken Realms is starting to use these neat, like crystal clear, like plastic parts with some of their stuff. So these are the portals that are out here. We can move around those if we get the right type of dice placement that allows us to move through portals. Otherwise, all we have out here right now are treasure tokens that we can get. We have these minions. These are the minions, and we'll look a little bit more into those when I talk about the boss setup. We have Lament. We can pick this up off the board if you ever end your movement there. What these are going to do is they're going to be kind of like your experience points, but it also is going to add corruption. And if you get too much corruption, your character is going to change and become corrupted. And it's kind of a yin and yang type maneuver. The more corruption you get, the more powerful you get because you'll get more experience and be able to unlock more cards and get more dice. But the closer you get to just becoming completely corrupted, having horrible things happen to you during the game. There is line of sight in this game, and this is a giant piece of blocking terrain that's out here on the board. And also any place that's empty, that doesn't have anything in it, is going to block any type of line of sight as well. The other thing we have is a tornado. This is specific to this particular scenario. It's going to move around and do bad things to us. Pretty much everything here does bad things to you, except for the portals that you can walk through. I guess the Lament's not too bad. It helps you out. One of the unique aspects of this particular boss battle type game is there are different things that you can do out on the map other than just attack the boss, which I think is a very interesting thing. One of the things they're adding is these maps cards. These are different map cards. So you give these a shuffle and you draw out map cards based on what your map setup is supposed to tell you. In this particular one, there are going to be 4 of these, so we'll just take the top 4 cards and we'll take a look at what we have. The first one is Twisted Lands. We are going to place the Twisted Land card in the first available card slot. See the mission setup. So our first available card slot is going to be right here. So if we're ever in this particular place, we're going to be able to take advantage of this. And according to this, I can discard 2 magic symbols on my dice to be able to heal 2 per phase, which is kind of neat. The next one we have is going to be the Witch's House setup. Place the Witch's House tile according to the map setup. Well, actually, I accidentally already placed it. It's right here. This is the Witch's House. It is placed right there. So we do have that right here. And there's a lot of things on here that's going to tell us how to deal with this. We can discard a die to steal the witch's stuff and resolve secret card 10. Discard a die to speak to the witch and resolve secret card 11. So those are the things we can do at the Witch's House. So we do have that available to us. I'm actually going to remove the card because we already got everything we need right there. The next one we have is going to be this one, Corrupted Lands. We can set up, place the Corrupted Lands card in the first available card slot. So the first available one is there. It's already taken. So we're going to put it in Enviro Card 2 slot, which is actually going to be all the way up there. And then our last one we have is going to be the Well. place the well token in the first available token slot. See the mission setup mat. Place this card near the well token. All right, so if we look here, the first Enviro token slot is actually going to be right here, and this is the well. These are all, of course, done with their Sundrop painting scheme, so we're going to place that right here. There are a couple other cool ones. I'm just going to show you them because we're not going to be using them in the playthrough. Some of them have to do with this river, and it's going to make the river become something. They have a thing with the carriage, so this carriage will go out there on a particular slot. So this is number 1. If it went on to Enviro card slot number 2, it would be like over here, Enviro slot 3 and 4 and so on. So you can different ones of these that you can interact with while you're also taking on this boss and defeating minions and things of that nature. They also have they have like all different things with whatever. We have a pile of skulls. We have busy minions, so we have something to do with the minions. And we have a couple other ones that we could have placed with the board. Here's the skull pile that we could have put out there. And of course, if we did have the skull pile put out there, we could look at what we have to do in order to deal with it and then be able to take advantage of it. Let's see, it's right. Here's our pile of skulls. We could attack this, and if it ever gets 10 damage on it, each hunter will then gain 3 lament. Remember, the lament is similar to an experience points in this game. Also, of course, it deals with corruption and things of that nature. Now, according to our map setup, there is only 2 treasure tokens for this particular mission. One is up there and one is here. I've already placed them down, but there are other ones, so it's not just those 2. There are random tokens that you're going to be able to find. Of course, if you end your turn there, you can probably pick those up and see what you get. With our map set up, we'll move into setting up the boss. That's right over there. We're going to set up each part of the boss step by step, and the cool thing is it actually tells us what step we're actually going to deal with each parts of this boss that is here. So step 1 is going to be the event. You're going to draw an event card if you're supposed to, or you're going to resolve an event card based on what is out on the board. Your event cards are going to be set up based on the core events and then based on the monster you're fighting. So our events are going to have convergence events, core events, and I think there's also environmental events, map events as well. So we've put all those together. We've created an event deck. We're going to give it a good old truffle shuffle and place it down on the board. Now, every monster is going to have, or boss, I should say, is going to have its own event cards it's going to add to this deck. So when you're not playing Convergence and you decide to maybe take on this guy, this undead general, look at this guy. This guy's out of control. You'll be placing his events into this deck, making them a little bit different with each boss. Next, we're going to set up the minions. There is going to probably be a large amount of minions to choose from. I only have 2. We're going to play with this one right here. These are the Convicted Murderer. It has its AI steps that it's going to perform and what it's going to do when it actually hits you. All minions have only 1 health, so when you hit them, they will die, which is fantastic. These are the miniatures for the minions, and they even have these little slots here so they can hold defense tokens if they get them. I think this one can gain them. It says, yep, bulk up, gain 2 defense, max 1. They can never have more than 1 defense token with them at a time. This is going to be the second thing we're going to deal with when it comes to resolving what the boss does. So I've put the other minions that we're not using at this time, but of course they will spawn at certain times during the game here with the minion card. Similar to the minions, we also have what's called an elite. There, of course, is different elites we can use as well. This is the only one given to me for the prototypes. We are going to use the Alchemist. He is right here. These miniatures, of course, being Awaken Realm miniatures, are out of control and off this chart here. And, of course, Sundrop pledged as they are. Going forward, the Sundrop on these may change and the miniatures themselves may change. I'm not sure how that's all going to be once the game gets fully funded. But this guy also goes out on the board at the beginning of the game. He doesn't just sit on this card. And he's going to be placed right up here in the upper corner. Step 4 is going to be setting up the boss. The boss is going to come with its own card here that you're going to place into the holder for the boss. Every boss does have one of these. The Undead General also has one that's going to be a little bit different from this one. They all have something that goes along with them. This one, for example, is going to have a tornado swirling around the board, which is going to be able to move 1 and activate Resolve First Applicable. It's when they're supposed to activate tornadoes, which according to this is over here, it looks like, or anything else that will activate them, maybe an event card or something. You're going to follow these instructions here on the boss's card. On top of that, there is different boss stages. There are 3 different cards for this particular boss. We'll shuffle those up. If we ever get to a point where we have to draw a new stage card, we will draw one. It's going to be right there, and I'll show you how that track works in a second. Next, we're going to get our boss's cards all set up. The first card we need is a final action. If you've done enough damage to the boss that this is the only card left, it will be the one you draw, and it's going to be placed right down here. It says on all of these, if this card is visible, take all boss attack cards from the discard pile, reshuffle them, and place them here. If there are no boss attack cards in the discard pile, draw and resolve this card. And there's two different ones, so we don't know which one he's going to do. Next, he has a response card. We're again going to shuffle these two up as well and draw one of them. This is going to go right here under this turn. And what this card says is that attack each hunter within range 1 to 0 with 3 dice, and then it'll teleport to the nearest lament space farthest from the hunters. And every time it shows that on a die, we'll deal 2. You'll see how that works during the playthrough, but we place that there in a this turn card. And the reason we do that is our goal is to take down this boss's deck, which is right here. The prelude or the instructions for it are found in the campaign or the guide for how to play this guy. He has his deck right here, and each one of these cards, we're going to flip one over, is going to go, the first one's going to go here, and the second one we are going to be able to flip over and put here, so we have an idea of what is coming. The rest, of course, we placed right here. What we're seeing on these particular cards is what this card will do. Then we're going to be able to damage the boss, and not just the boss itself, but we're going to damage the cards as they come out. So when there's a card here, we're going to be able to damage it, and when this thing gets 7 damage, it will be destroyed. That part of the boss will be destroyed, and we're going to each gain 3 lament. So whenever you defeat one of these cards, you're going to, all the hunters will gain the lament for it. Up here, it'll tell you kind of what it does. And then the only problem is, I see here, is that if you don't do the 7 damage by the time the boss goes, he's going to activate this card, and then it's going to discard, which is going to remove all the damage from what I understand. Again, the rules are a living document, and that may change going forward. We'll see how it goes. And then this new card will slide into its place, and then we'll draw a new one for the next thing it's going to do. There are many cards we're not using, and it all depends on what type of, when you fight this boss. You could fight it maybe at a different time, and it might have more powerful cards. Also, of course, every enemy does have its own set. So here's the ones for like the Undead General. It's got its own final action and responses, and it's got its own boss cards as well. And this one, instead of doing anything with tornadoes, it actually has these banners that it's going to place out. And like I said, they all have their own events. So we're going to set these cards aside. We will not need them. The last thing the boss will do is it's going to use the time track. It's going to start here, and as I've talked about already, some of these things are going to activate, and they're going to activate at the very last thing of the turn for the boss. The first one it's going to do is say it's new event. So at that point, that is when we're going to draw and resolve one of the events. Now it might be a remains in play event, which then we're going to be resolving what's on that card every turn until it comes back to drawing a new event. Or it could be a one and done, and we're just going to discard it. Then we'll activate all tornadoes, spawn minions, and go to the new stage. Now, of course, you're not going to run through every one of those during the boss step. You're going to do one, and then then it'll be our turn. Then we'll go through an entire turn again, and then we'll come to this one, and this one, and this one, and so on and so forth. So we may not even see all these, depending on how well or how poorly we do in this playthrough. We'll see how it goes. But do know that's how this works. So we put it on start, and we'll be done setting up the boss. And of course, it wouldn't be the end if we didn't know what we're fighting. We're going to fight this guy. This is Convergence. Like it said, it's like all of this like mist and architecture all put together. And even looks like it has some dude in the middle of this thing. Look at that guy just hanging out there. So we'll have to take this guy down. And he also starts on the board. There isn't like there's no way you have to try to get this boss out there. He starts right down here. Now, before we look into these super cool players, there is one more thing we have to do to get our boss ready, and that's get our corruption deck ready. You're going to be drawing these during the game, and based on your corruption level, horrible or great things are going to happen to your characters. We'll not know until we start playing. And now comes the part where we get to set up our characters. This is the cool part. So what we're going to do is first we're going to decide what we're going to play with. One of our characters, we're going to be playing 2 players. Do know you can play this game completely solo. And if you do, you are going to gain what they call deputies, which are going to be just smaller, easier versions of some of the other characters. So you're going to be able to use these cards to represent that. And you're not going to get all this stuff. You're just going to get these particular cards. And they're still going to do actions and things out on the board with you. but we're going to deal with the gunslinger. You're going to take your tile for the gunslinger and put it down. Every one does have its own special ability. This is a place where I can put a die, and like I said, this is a dice placement game, so we're going to roll dice and be able to place these out on the cards and be able to use them for our actions. One of them we can do is we can load a bullet, which is going to help us deal extra damage to the enemy. And it even has a little thing down here, prepared bullets. When you resolve an action that deals damage, I may discard all bullet tokens to gain their bonus. And for now, it is just deal 1 damage. We could potentially get some upgrades from our evolution deck that is going to allow us to gain better bullets in the future, maybe. We'll see how it all transpires. Now, what you're seeing out on this board is, first off, you can put defense tokens here to protect you if you hit that ability. Also, we're going to put our wounds and statuses on this area here. This right here is going to be where we can place our tactics token, which is going to allow us to re-roll. And of course, that is one of the actions that we have over on the side. Right here is a tactic. We also have a move, sprint, cleanse, and assist. And this is our assist token. If we do use that, we're going to give this token to one of the other players that we're playing with. And then that character would then be able to use whatever symbol is slotted into our assist area of the board, which is kind of cool. So that's a neat mechanic you can do. You can just assist your friends if you don't have anything else you can do, or if they have something to really want to do but they don't have the die but you do, you can give them the assist token so they can do that. That's kind of cool. Next thing we have is our lament track, which is up here, or our corruption track, sorry. When we gain lament, we're going to go up on the corruption. This is our critical wound token, and if we ever get to critical, we'll put that in there. And then if we lose all our health again, the game is over. If you ever lose 1 hunter, the game is over. It's not just, you don't just keep on going. This is the first player token. It's going to start on the person with the lowest health for this particular mission. So that's going to be this character. We'll show the other character in just a moment. Next thing we get to do is pick some items and armor. And every character does come with a small little deck of cards that they can choose their weapons and armor. And everyone's a little bit different. I've got what's called a blunderbuss. It gives me the dice that I'm going to start with, and then I can place them to do these particular actions. Now, of course, this one I need to place both those dice in order to do it, where this one I only have to place the 1 die. On top of that, I do get an armor. I've chose this scout armor where I can place one of these particular dice, has to be that symbol, and I gain 2 defense. And then during your turn, I can flip this card to move 2 spaces. Once I flip it, I'm never able to do it again. So it's like almost like a free get out of dodge card if you need to. The other particular items I had is I could have gone with a long rifle, a flintlock pistol, advanced leather armor, or I could have gone with strap armor. And notice each one of these does come with different starting dice. Like this is going to be more of a defensive based character if you chose those dice, where these are going to have a magic die associated with it. This one, long rifle's got more like attack and gear type symbols, where this one has more of the attack and magic type symbols, and mine has an attack and magic type symbol down here as well. And those, of course, dice are going to be rolled and used for different actions that you get on cards, your character, and even some of the upgrade cards as you go forward. And notice these are all locked, but as we gain certain points into our corruption track, we're going to draw 2 of these. We can keep one, put the other on the bottom, or we could discard both of them and gain any type of dice we want, which could be a blue, purple, black, or green dice if we want. These cards right here, like I said, are for the deputy. You can be able to upgrade your deputy, which will be able to use some of these cards as they go forward, at least giving you the power to help your deputy get stronger. Our characters do come with cool minis. Here's our, what do you call it, our gunslinger. He's super cool. He's got this. Now, of course, if we do reach 10, we have become corrupted. And then we'll flip our card over. We get new powers down here. And on top of that, we have a new mini we get to put on the board. Look at this guy. He's got 4 hands now that he can use. He's got 4 guns, or 3 guns, I guess, using some super gun and then 2 other ones. But these guys look super cool once they're corrupted, which is neat. Now, of course, having a bunch of corruption might not be the greatest thing, because bad things could happen to you, but it always also gives you some extra abilities you can do, and you get more health. So we'll put our character card back because we are just a normal gunslinger for now, and we'll place that down on the board where it tells us according to the scenario. If you look closely at the cards, again, it shows you what dice you need. So I'm going to grab a blue and a purple for that particular item. And this one up here is going to give us a blue and a green. We're going to take these 4 dice and put them into our discarded dice section, and we'll refresh them and start playing the game when we move to our first turn. This is our Technomancer. I'm going to go probably a little bit faster on this character because I talked a lot on the first character. I do get 2 green dice, a purple and a blue according to these over here. We'll put them into our discarded area. We do not need our deputy cards, but here are the Technomancer's evolution cards, and every person does get their own specific deck. I do have some items, like I said earlier. I either could have chosen Arcane Staff, or I could have chosen any Electro Pike. It could have been the two things. I chose the Arcane Staff. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. We'll see. I have never played. We'll see how this all goes. This could be a complete disaster, and maybe I've chose the wrong items here. We'll see how this goes. Also on top of that, I took battery armor instead of steam or gear armor. Again, not sure if that is the way to go, but we shall find out. The Technomancer does have an ability here that says Power Surge. Setup, I am going to gain 1 yellow die. He's the only person that has this particular die. And it says, during your turn, you may discard one of these symbols to move 1 space. So another thing you can do with your dice, other than place them to potentially move and things of that nature, is you can just discard them according to some of the abilities, or like this guy, or something out on the board might want you to discard a die in order to do what it's supposed to do. And we have 5 dice now. We'll put them right over there. Now, like I said, this can be played up to 4 players. This prototype is only set up to be able to play with 2. I only have 2 player boards, but this is the other character that was given to me that I could have played. This is Duality. Duality is kind of cool because this character is going to be able to do different abilities based on whether or not they have white or black feathers or wings that they have, and if they have the same amount of them, they actually kind of get a bonus from both sides. So it's kind of, you're trying to keep that duality of your character. And here's the miniature for that when it first comes onto the board, and this one, sadly, is kind of broken here, but this is the transformed one when it becomes corrupted. I've gotten a couple breaks on that, but that's okay. Again, Duality does come with some weapons, just to quickly show you them. They got the battle needles, the ritual daggers, and the rapier here, and of course they're all a little bit different, and they all give a little bit different dice for you as you go forward. Duality also has 2 different armor, and they're both dual-sided, so you're always going to start with the ones that show you which dice you get to roll. So these show the dice, these do not, which means that this is the flip side. All right, and just like all the other ones, they have all the different evolutions that they can get, and also have some stuff for the deputy if you wanted to play this as a deputy character. So that's the other character that came in the box that I'm not going to use for this playthrough. Each of our characters are given 2 different player aids. The first one talks about the statuses and the tokens that you have. This one, for example, you could get Hunger, and then what's going to happen with this is at the beginning of the Hunter's phase, I'm going to move towards the closest ally based on the amount of Hunger tokens I have and then deal them damage. Burn is going to, at the beginning of the round, I'm going to gain 1 unblockable damage for each burn token you have. Stun is going to essentially cover up a placement of our dice. The weak token is going to, when we refresh and roll our dice, anytime we roll something that gives us 2 of a particular symbol, we'll have to re-roll that, and hopefully maybe we'll get them back, but most of the time you're not going to get that. The last one is vulnerable, and for each vulnerable token, 1 of the results from the enemy attacks when we roll them, say you're fighting a minion and it gets this, which actually doesn't do anything, it will instead do at least 1 damage to you for the vulnerable token that you have. On the flip side of this card, it just shows you some of the other tokens you're going to see. The tactics token I've discussed, you're able to reroll any number of dice spending that token. Defense, I can discard this token to prevent the damage indicated by the number on the token. Now, from what I understand, if I were to take 1 damage, I could choose to use this token or not, but they don't have 1 tokens in there. They only have 2s and 4s. So from what I understand, if I were to take 1 damage and I wanted to block it, I would have to block it with the full 2 or even the full 4 token if I have it. I could be wrong about that going forward. Like I said, this is not a rules video. I'm just trying to explain kind of how this game goes according to the rules I was given, and hopefully my interpretation of them is correct. The last one, of course, that critically injured card. If we ever lose all of our points, we're going to grab secret card 1 and gain that token. One thing I forgot to show you during setup is this, I believe, is where you would put your deputy character. It would have its own set of tracks like this, and it's not as big as the player boards, but it does have its own deputy board that you can track the corruption and what it's used for, its dice. And they have easier things to place. You don't have ones that are specific to the boards that they have. They are just almost going to be all generic dice that you can place down here from what I understand about how these work. But again, that's used only in the solo. This game does come with an app, but I'm just going to read you what it is because there's not a lot of dialogue that goes with it. This is not a campaign game. This is kind of a one and done, kind of get to experience the boss fight, and then you can put this away and bring it out again and try another boss in the future, or even just play again right after you beat a boss. You can go on to the next one. And so we're just going to read this small area right down here. It does say, the ground around the shores of Lathe is soft and spongy. Dark shapes float down the lazy current, barely visible under the surface of murky water, slowly gliding toward the abyss of the ocean. Beyond the river, you see the convergence. At first, it looks like a destructive force of nature that thrashes about the countryside. After watching it for a while with your bronze spyglass, you realize it's not roaming aimlessly. It's looking for something or someone. Other smaller entities are visible around the convergence. Where they're drawn to it? Do they worship it? What could they be looking for on this forsaken riverbank? You move forward, failing to notice small wisps of lament that rise from your footsteps like smoke. You may start the hunt. The last thing we have to do for a setup for this particular mission is I get to place down one of these wherever I want to. I'm going to place the portal right here. I think that's a pretty good spot for it. Why not? We'll place it right there. And then I get to place my two characters next to any portal I want to. Normally during one of the missions, it'll actually give you a starting position. But for this particular one, it does tell me I can place them next to any one of the portals. Going forward with this playthrough, I do want to stress a few things. One, this is not a playthrough for those that have actually backed the GameFound and are getting it, because this is a prototype. Things may have changed going forward. So this is not like a full, I'm going to explain all the rules that I have, but they may change as time goes on. Also, if you're looking for a tactics video on how you're supposed to get through all these missions and things like that, again, that is not this. I'm going to be demonstrating how all this game functions. And of course, if we make it out, that's fantastic. If we don't, well, at least you can see how that goes as well. And also at the time of this recording, I could not find any other playthroughs, but if any more pop up, I will make sure to put them in the description of this video. So if you're watching this one, please check the descriptions for any other videos that have come out for this game going forward. With that, we are going to begin with the very first part of the turn. And that is going to be the Hunter's phase. The first part of the phase is we're going to move the first player token to the next hunter. This will be skipped for the first part, for this first turn. The evolution step will come next. We'll place a chosen number of lament tokens that we have gained into our corruption track. We'll resolve all triggered evolutions and then discard all the remaining lament. This is going to also not happen for the first because we don't have any. And then the next one is corruption step. Each hunter will draw and resolve one corruption card. Again, skipped on the very first turn. With that being said, we are going to move to the refresh step, where each hunter will refresh all their action dice and rolls all their action dice. And those, of course, we'll be spending to do all of our actions during our turn. Next, we have the cleanse step. Each hunter may discard any number of magic symbols they have on a die. So if I had one of those, I could just discard this die to remove any of those status ailments that we have. For example, I could get rid of a burn token just like that. The only one I cannot get rid of during that step is the hunger token. I do have to keep the hunger token. I can't get rid of that with the cleanse step. Then we will start our hunters' turns, and all hunters perform their turns using 2 actions. Repeat this step until no hunter can use any more actions. This may sound similar if you ever have played the game Nemesis 5 Awaken Realms. They do this same system where you can do 2 actions, then the next hunter will do 2 actions. It'll go back and forth until either A, you choose to only do 1 action and not 2, then your turn would also be coming to an end, or if you choose to not do any and just end your turn. We'll start by rolling our Techromancer's dice, and we'll place those next to the board. And then we'll roll our Gunslinger's dice. Of course, our Gunslinger only has 4 dice compared to the 5 that the Techromancer gets because of the power surge that that character has. Now here's a list of basic actions that all of our characters have access to. Some of these may take a specific type of die in order to do, but the other ones are going to be any die can be used. For example, move, you can move up to your hunter's movement value, and both of our heroes, I guess you could say, or hunters, have 2 movements. So if we ever put a die there, we can move 2 spaces. Now, once, of course, you put a die there, it's locked in, and you can't take it out unless you have an ability or something on the board or anything gives you the ability to take that out. The other one is going to be a sprint. You can move up to your hunter speed +1. During this action, you can also teleport through portals. It's the only way to move through portals using basic actions. In order to do a sprint, our characters do have to spend that particular die symbol in order to do it. Our Gunslinger and our Technomancer both have that if they want to do that. Next is the Tactic. We can gain that Tactic token, which allows us to re-roll any of our dice if we want to by spending it. The next is the Cleanse. You can remove up to 2 status tokens. So again, if you had, after you get through the Cleanse phase, if you still had tokens on your character, you could spend one of your magic dice to cleanse up to 2 tokens. During this particular action, it doesn't say that I cannot remove the hunger token. So I believe the cleanse action is going to be allowing you to remove that as opposed to the cleanse step where you have to discard dice to remove only 1. I hope that makes sense. The last one is the assist, and that's where you can choose an ally to gain a personal universal marker, and they may use that during the hunter phase as a die result that you placed in that area. So for example, our Technomancer placed that into the assist area. I would place this into my Gunslinger's assist area, and he's allowed to spend that token to gain this particular symbols on this dice. And on top of that, of course, we do have the stuff from our items. We can use those as well. I think the first thing we're going to do is we are going to sprint. We're going to use that die to sprint to move 3 spaces. And we are going to move 1, 2, 3, ending on that treasure token. So we're going to be able to take this treasure token, we'll reveal it and see what we have that we can do. This one says heal 4. I don't need to do that. Each hunter gains 2 shields. That's not bad. Or each hunter gains 2 damage and 2 lament. Oh my gosh, that's really good. So we'll place our 2 wounds right there, and then we put my lament onto my player board. I'll do the same thing for our Technomancer. He's going to gain, this character is going to gain the 2 damage and also the 2 lament. The next thing the Gunslinger is going to do is place that die there to move 2 spaces. And that will place me 1, 2 right here. I'm going to end my movement there and gain that lament as well. Having performed 2 actions, we will move over to the Technomancer. The Technomancer is also going to start by spending this die to sprint. The Technomancer is going to do something maybe a little dangerous. We're going to move 1, 2, 3 up to here to grab this lament and place it down on the character board. After placing that die, we're going to perform this battery armor. We're going to put 2 shields and the gear symbol there to be able to gain a 4 shields, which is going to be awesome, and move 1 space. We'll place our shield token right down here and move into this Elite's space right there. I do want to mention, when you do move into spaces, you can only have a maximum of 4 characters in 1 space. Or these particular things also will tell you they count as a character or a thing in the space. So you can only have 4 things in a space at one time. If you do move into a space that has more than 4 spaces, you can move something out of it so that you can take the spot of it according to the rules. The order in which you move the characters out is going to be minions, elites, and hunters. So let's say we had 3 minions here, and I moved this character over, I could move a minion out, but I wouldn't be able to move the elite out. Moving back over to the Gunslinger, we're going to fire off our blunderbuss. We're going to place our shield die right there to deal 1 damage at range 2 and in line of sight. Line of sight in this particular game is going to be drawing an imaginary line of fire from the center of the model space to the center of the other space that you are attempting to fire to. This line can only be drawn through the middle of a given space. Edges, and if the line is interrupted by blocking spaces, the line cannot be drawn. Of course, you can also not draw line of sight through spaces that don't exist, or of course any of this blocking. So 2 spaces, 1, 2, we are totally in line of sight. We're going to fire, do 1 damage to this. This 1 minion is going to die. They only have 1 health. And when you destroy a minion, you are able to gain 1 lament. So we'll place another one of those cubes on our board. The final die we have for him is a magic die, and there isn't anything I can do with it. I could cleanse, but I don't need to. I don't have any bad status ailments over here. So we're just going to use this to gain our tactic token. And then we can use this in the future. It'll go down there. Now at this point in time, I can only carry 1 of those. Our Technomancer is going to spend the 1 magic die to deal 1 damage at range 0 to the elite that is in our space. Then with our final die, we are going to use it to move 2 spaces. Now notice I could have placed it here, but with the slash, that means I have to have had both of these here dice in those particular spaces in order to take advantage of this. Another thing I do want to mention that's kind of cool about this game is see how there's 2 symbols here? If we ever had a situation where we had 2 of these symbols, we could stack them, bringing us to the 2 symbols we need in order to activate that particular thing on a card. I think that's really cool. So you're not limited to having to roll that exact double. You can actually spend 2 singles, which is kind of neat. So with those 2 things done, we'll do the 1 damage and then move 2 spaces. Our elite is taking 1 of 7 damage. And then I am going to move my Technomancer 1-2 spaces back down this way towards the gunslinger. Maybe we can kind of come up together and try to take that guy out. You might be wondering why I didn't interact with the well that's sitting over here. And that's if we look at the card, it does say that discard 2 dagger symbols in order to roll a die. Well, none of us got 2 dagger symbols. We actually only got 1 total. So I couldn't even have stacked 2 of them together in order to do it. So that's why I didn't even go for that well, in case you're wondering. Now at this point, we'll move into our boss, and I am not going to show you the card because the enemy phase goes really good. They actually show it completely by all these little things out here. The first one is going to be our event step. If there's an event revealed, which there is not, we would then resolve it. At this time, we'll move on to the minions and resolve their AI card going from top to bottom. So we're going to start with the charge. If there's a hunter within 0 to 3, move 3 and attack with range 0 with 2 dice. So we're going to roll 2 dice. When we get those symbols on these 12-sided dice, we'll have to deal with the consequences. There is a minion within 3 of the Technomancer, so 1, 2, 3. This minion is going to come right into the square and roll 2 dice and see what happens. We've got a little claw face and a star. So the Technomancer is going to deal 1 burn or gain 1 burn, and then it's also going to be dealt 1 damage. We'll place our damage right there, and we'll also place our burn token. I do have 4 shield. I could choose to block that if I wish to, but I don't want to because I know I have an elite that's still probably going to activate and attack me, and that boss that could probably do something as well. There are 2 more minions onto the board. They are going to bulk up. They're going to gain 2 shield, and then they're going to move 3 spaces. If they're within 1 to 0 of a hunter, they will attack with 1 die. So we'll first start by placing the defense tokens into this. Now, I think it'd be kind of cool if the defense tokens actually could sit in this way, and who knows, that may change as time goes on. We'll just place them in there right like that for now. He'll go back there, and then this one's also going to gain 1 of these defense tokens sitting into its space right there. Then they're going to move 2 spaces, no, 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, that one moves 3, and this one, then they're going to move towards the closest hunter, and ties are broken by the hunter that is the most corrupted. Not by how much has the most lament on their board, it's by how much they're corrupted. And both of them have no corruption right now, so we'll have to see where this one goes. Counting out the spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could choose now to decide where I want this person to go. I'm going to have this one just go 1, 2, 3, 4 down there towards our gunslinger. At this point, he is 0 to 1 spaces away from our gunslinger, so I'm just going to roll 1 die right here. We got a claw, which means our gunslinger is going to take 1 damage from that minion. He's up to 3 wounds. And of course, I don't think I mentioned it, but our gunslinger does have 12 total wounds he can take, and our Technomancer has 13. The next person to activate is going to be our alchemist, as shown by the flag here that says we're going to activate our elite. This activation is going to resolve if applicable. The first one is Flaming Bomb Throw. If there is a hunter in range 0 to 3 and in line of sight, attack all hunters in 0 to 3 and line of sight with 1 die. I don't think there is, so we are going to run up Bomb Throw. Move 2, all hunters in 0 to 2 when line of sight are going to be hit by 1 die. and this is what is going to happen down here. The reason I don't think he can hit me is because this kind of, I believe, is just going to, this is not, he can't shoot through that, I don't believe. Of course, like I said, this is not a 100% correct rules video, and that could be wrong, but for now, we're just going to move 2 spaces to right here. He's going to stand right in that square with us, which is going to be awesome, and he's going to hit everybody within range 1 or 2. He is the only one in range 1 or 2. Our gunslinger is too far away. Our gunslinger is 3 spaces away from that alchemist. So at this point, we'll just roll a die right here, and we got ourselves a little scratchy symbol. So if we look on our board here, I'm going to be dealt 2 damage, and if any of damage was dealt this way, I'm going to be dealt 3 burn. That's why I kept this shield token, so I can soak up all of that damage, and also I get no burn. With our elite complete, we're going to move into the boss step. That is going to be the 4th one. We're going to activate our boss. So at this point, we're going to activate the This Turn card. The good news is, like I said, is we know what's coming. This Turn card says, move each hunter in range 0 to 3 from the boss or from a tornado 2 spaces toward the boss. Then everybody that is going to, we're all going to be dealt 7 damage to each hunter on the map, reduced by 1 for each space between the boss and that hunter. We'll do our counting. I am 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from that boss. So the gunslinger is going to take 3 damage. We'll stick 3 damage onto his card right now. The next person is going to be our technomancer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our technomancer is only going to gain 1 damage, which is super good compared to our poor gunslinger. With that card complete, we will discard that card and move this one into the This Turn card. Now, something on this card I would like to talk about is there's an ability here called Forced. This ability will fire off unless our hunters are able to do players worth of damage to this card. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of this card. If we can do 2 damage to that particular card, then the forced ability will not go off. It's like you're able to damage the boss enough, and hurt the boss enough in this particular area so that he's not going to take the damage or not be able to do all of his things he's planning on doing. I think that's a pretty cool idea in this game. The final thing we'll do during the boss's phase here, or the enemy phase, is we are going to move the time track token. We'll move it 1 space, and the new space we're on is new event. So remember when there was that event card that was not revealed? There is now going to be a revealed event card, and the event card we are going to reveal is anomalous weather. Each hunter chooses 1, gain 1 burn, 1 stun, or 1 vulnerable. Oh my gosh, we're already tokened up to the max. I don't think I want any of those tokens, but alas, I do have to take 1. Now, since this is a do it and that's it card, I will be removing this card. I don't think that one stays in effect. It may stay in effect. Maybe it stays in effect until it comes back around to a new turn. I could be wrong about how that works. I'm not sure if it's a one and done card. I'm going to guess since it does not have a discard this card, that card is going to remain in play until we have to draw a new event, which will be in 4 turns. So for the next 4 turns, I have to deal with this anomalous weather. Oh, that's barfy. I'm going to grab another stun token. I'm going to place that down here on my double magic one. Our Technomancer is also going to take a stun token and place it down there on this dagger symbol. I think the only die that has a dagger is this one. I think it's only, oh, it's on 2 spaces. So, oh well, we'll be okay. We'll just do it that way. At this point, we are going to pass our first player token over to our Technomancer. And one thing I forgot to do is at the end of our action phase, when we've spent all our dice, before we go to the enemy phase, we do have to move all of our dice over to the discarded dice section so that they're going to be ready for our next turn. And wow, the interesting thing is we're going to start here. We do have a bunch of these evil vile tokens on our characters that we're going to have to deal with, but we're going to do this in order. So the first thing we're going to do is pass the token, then we're going to evolve. So we're going to place any lament on my corruption track and resolve the triggered evolutions, then discard all remaining elements. So if we had made it to 20, we had any, we'd I think discard them. But for us, we're going to put 1, 2, 3 into our Technomancer, and our Technomancer is going to be able to draw the top 2 cards of the deck and be able to decide if they want this Technomancer upgrade, armor upgrade. It says here, deal 2 damage in range 0 to 1, then move all enemies in range 0 to 1 up to 3 spaces. Armor bonus. You may move up to 3 spaces any enemies in range 0 to 1 or any allies within 0 to 1. Now I believe what that is that has to do with this card here. It says during this phase when using armor actions you may apply all the gear armor bonuses, which are going to be these down here. So if I did ever put a gear die, which is this die, it has it on 4 sides here, any of these armor actions, if I had more than one armor action, it would activate. And I'd be able to use this particular bonus down here. Now, of course, I've got one of my weapon as well. And look at this, energy cannon. I don't, cannon sounds good. Cannon sounds real good. It says deal 1 damage to each enemy at range 0. Oh my gosh, each enemy, that's so good. Then it says weapon bonus, increase range of this action by 1. Oh, I think I want the energy cannon, but oh my gosh, look at it, it's hard to get I have to get that particular roll, which means I either have to get a double or I have to get this symbol on both, and that'd be using 2 dice just to do that, but oh my gosh, that's so good. Now, of course, one of the things I could do is not take either of these and grab a die of my choice, but I think the cannon sounds super good, so we're going to discard that card and keep the cannon and put that over here with our available action cards. Our gunslinger did super good and got 4 of these, so he's able to upgrade himself twice. So our first upgrade is going to be at 2. He's going to draw 2 cards. He's got boom headshot and he's got run and gun. Okay, boom headshot's never going to happen first off. Deal 4 damage at range 0 to 1, then discard all your dice at the end of your round. That is super amazing, but I only have 1 die. Oh, I do have 2 dice, but they're only going to give me 1 symbol. So I could stack these together to get 1, but as you can tell, there's no slash there or anything, so I do have to get 2 of those. So this one is not even going to happen. We're just going to put that at the bottom. That'd be something maybe near the end you could get if you had enough dice to be able to activate it. Now this one, let's see what this says. Run and gun. I can use the gear symbol with the arrow and the knife symbol to resolve in any order, move it to 2 spaces, and deal 1 damage at range 0 to 2 in line of sight. That sounds really good too. Oh my gosh, I get a lot of movement out of this guy. Keep him away from that boss. That boss is out of control. Or do I gain a die? Now he only has 4 dice. The other guy has 5 dice. Now I've covered up on this card a double magic symbol, but I've got a lot of shield symbols on this guy, and I've got 2 dice that do shields. If I can get a 3rd die that gets shields, I could activate a lot of these things on his card. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to grab another blue die and put it into his discard. No, actually I get to activate it right away, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to use it. But we'll roll it up. I got a shield. There we go. I could put this in my active dice, I guess. Whenever you gain a die, you get to just automatically roll it in, is from what I understand. Now, I did it again here at 4. So we're going to again grab 2 cards, see what we got. The first one is going to be Full Metal Jacket. Nope, not the movie. I can spend a what is this, a knife to add a bullet. Oh, I forgot about the bullets. I could have done that instead of the tactics. I could have gave myself a bullet. That would have been so much better. I'm going to do that. I'm not very good at this game. And I'm not going to gain my tactics token. I'm going to gain one of my bullet tokens instead. That's way better. All right, we're going to use this other one as I can use a gear to give my +2 maximum range for the action if I wanted to spend my bullets for that. Or I can load a bullet and gain +1 damage, all right? I can also do a soft point. I could load some bullets to gain damage. One of them I can do to, you may count range and draw a line of sight through blocked spaces during an action. We're going to take that one. That's be the card we get, especially since we have another blue die. So look at all of these different shield icons I can use with my blue dice, hopefully. Hopefully. Now, of course, all my blue dice are going to roll probably, what do you call them? These knife symbols. You'll see how that goes. Let's not hope that happens. Now, like I said previously, I forgot to tell you, these guys all have their health symbols down here. So he has 12, and like I said, my Technomancer has 13. And right now, I think I am half dead. My gunslinger is half dead. And sadly, I didn't get any cards that are going to help me heal at all. Our next step is we now have to draw corruption cards for each of our characters, starting with the first player. So we'll draw one for our Technomancer, who got 0 to 4. Reshuffle the... Okay, that's hilarious. All right, we'll just reshuffle this up here a little bit. Give it a good old truffle shuffle. There we go. We're real good. All right, and we'll draw another card and see what we got for our other character. 4 to 9, move 2 spaces toward the closest lament. All right, well, I don't have 4 to 9, what do you call it, corruption, so I'm just going to discard that card. First, we'll roll up our Technomancer's dice, and then we'll roll up our Gunslinger's dice. With our refresh step done, we can move into the cleanse step. So at this point, I could discard dice to remove any of the status effects I have on my board. I'm going to choose not to do that. So once I move past the cleanse step, it's going to go to the hunter's turn. And there's a small thing that's not written on the player aid that states that the time between the cleanse step and the hunter's turn, that is when any begin of round effects happen. So this is when our burn is going to take place. So I am going to take one unavoidable damage from the burn token I have. Our Technomancer is going to start by doing as much damage as possible. We're going to deal 2 damage at range 0 with our Arcane Staff, and we're going to use this one to also deal 1 damage at range 0. Doing it all encompassing, we're doing 3 damage at range 0. At range 0, we have the Elite and we have a minion. Nope, we're not hitting the minion. We're going to deal 3 damage to our Elite, bringing the damage total for that character up to 4 damage. Our Gunslinger is going to use this to load a bullet into his gun. So he now has 2 of these bullet tokens. Then we're going to spend this to move up to 2 spaces. I'm going to place myself right here, and I bet you can already guess what's about to happen next turn. Our Technomancer is going to start by putting these 2 dice here to give ourselves 4 shields. We're going to need that because this stuff hits pretty hard. Then we're going to use that last die to move. And I'll move 1, 2 closer to the boss, and that's because the card that is coming is called Maelstrom. The closer you are to the boss, the less damage you actually are going to be taking. Our Gunslinger is loading up all the bullets into his gun and taking a shot. I'm going to do 1 damage at range 2, but I'm going to spend 2 bullet tokens. For every bullet I spend, I get to do an extra damage. That's going to be 3 damage at range 2. And you guessed it, at range 2 is the boss, or not the boss, the Elite. We're going to do 2 damage or 3 damage killing the Elite. Now, one thing I do want to mention is I did play my card wrong. Battery armor is going to allow me to gain a 4 shield and move 1 space. So I do get to move 1 space first, then I get to move 2 spaces. But since I ended my move there, I'm going to get that Lament and move 2 spaces over there. He's done the damage to our Alchemist. Our Alchemist has taken 7 damage and has perished, so all of the hunters are going to gain 3 Lament. That puts our Gunslinger at 3 and our Technomancer at 4. Hopefully that guy does not come back. With the remaining action, we are going to sprint 3 spaces. It would then go to the Technomancer, who is going to pass, which then can come back to our Gunslinger, who is going to cleanse his 2 stun tokens, and that's going to be the end. We just need to move ourselves 3 spaces. And I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 right next to the boss. Which is super funny that I'm going to be next to the boss, though it's probably going to do the least amount of damage. Moving into the enemy phase, I have to resolve the event card. So I either have to gain a burn, stun, or vulnerable. We're just going to take some stun tokens. Those seem to be the least detrimental at this date and time. I'll put a stun token onto my assist for our Technomancer and our tactic for our Gunslinger, and move on to our minions, who are probably all going to charge and kill me. There are 3 minions on the board, and according to their card, they are going to, if there is a hunter within range 0 to 3, move 3 spaces, attack in range 0 with 2 dice. And it's going to prioritize the person with the most corruption, which is our Gunslinger. So these 2 are going to come down here and attack our Gunslinger, even though it's the closer to this Technomancer. Now, of course, I could be wrong about how that works, but according to the document I have, I think that's how that works. It seems a little odd. I think you would just move towards your closest person, but it does say if they're within 0 to 3, the target of the action is going to be prioritized by the amount of corruption. If there's a tie in the corruption, then we would get to choose. There is this one, though. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, move into our Technomancer space and attack there. Our Convicted Marauder is going to roll 2 dice, and we'll see what we get. We got a whole bunch of scratches. That's 4 scratches, so our Gunslinger is going to be dealt 4 damage. Sadly, our Gunslinger doesn't have any defense, so I'm just going to remove these 3 and put a 3 there, and then it's going to gain 4 more, so it's at 9, 10 total health that it's taken. I have 2 left. Our Technomancer is going to get hit with 2 stars, which is going to deal 2 burn, which is almost even worse. And since I didn't cleanse, I still keep my burn token from last time. We are going to activate our boss monster now, and it says depending on the range from the boss, attack each hunter with 0 to 1. It's going to take 1 die, 2 to 3, it's going to take 2 dice, and 4 plus you'll take 3 dice. Then it does say focused, attack each hunter on the map with 1 die. Now I did not do any damage to the boss, so that is focused is going to happen. So from what I can tell, 0 to 1, that is going to be our gunslinger. He has 1 space away. He'll take 2 dice worth of damage. Then the Technomancer is 1, 2, 3 spaces away. So the Technomancer will take 3 dice worth of damage. We'll start with our gunslinger, see how he does. He has gotten dead. He has gotten dead. He has taken 2 damage, and he has also taken a burn. Having taken 2 more damage, that is going to put him at 12. He's also going to gain a burn card. Now, since we have reached our point of death, we are going to grab our secret 1 card, which is our critically wounded card. And it says here, if you have a critical injury token on your hunter board, you die, your scenario has failed. Otherwise, place the critical injury token on your hunter board. Heal 1 and discard all your status tokens. Only 1? I only get to... Well, good news, the status goes away. 1? I get to heal 1? There is no way. Okay, I heal 1. That's awesome. Okay, then it says, until the beginning of your next hunter phase, you're ignored by enemies. Additionally, do not draw a corruption card during the corruption step. Well, I mean, there's some happiness that happens. I will place this into our critical wound area, and I don't think we're going to win this. Our Technomancer is going to roll up some dice as well, and it's going to deal 3 burn. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'm sitting here with a 4 defense token, and I can't seem to get the burn, or this person is taking burn instead of damage to be able to block it. So we'll place 3 burn markers right there. This is also not going to be good for our Technomancer. At this point, we'll move this card to here, put a new card out, and discard that one. The final thing we have to do is move our time marker here and see what happens. It's going to activate all tornadoes, so they're going to move 1. Then the activation resolve first applicable. If there's a hero within 0 to 1, attack the hero with 3 dice. There's not going to be. So if any hunter is within range 2+, move the tornado twice. So we're going to move the tornado 3 times. And this tornado is just humming on down. 1, 2, 3, coming straight for that Technomancer. With the enemy phase complete, we'll grab our first player token. Again, I forgot to put my dice into the discard dice step, but that's okay. We are going to... This person has 11 health. No, 11 damage. All right. We are going to move the first player token. We're going to evolve, which means I get to put my 3 tokens in here, and I get to gain another hunter ability here. I can either a bullet with your name on it. When you remove a boss attack card, you may gain a assist or a tactics token, or resolve load a bullet action without using the dice. The other one is Woodcutter. I could again use one of these as a special armor upgrade to gain a bullet token, or 2 to gain this bullet token that says you may choose an additional target for this action according to the line of sight rules of the action. Okay, so both the, I'm just going to grab this one. I think this is a moot point, but it's just being able to show you some of the other cards in here. I don't think we have any chance to this one, but it's kind of cool. I do not resolve a corruption card for this character. So we'll move on to our next one. Our Technomancer does gain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're both at 7, which is kind of cool. This person is going to be able to gain 2 cards and see which ones that person gets. Extra plating. I can when you remove a boss attack card, gain 4. Well, that's pretty awesome. I'm not removing any boss cards. Electro Gauntlet. I can deal 2 damage at range 0. If you remove a boss attack card, you may refresh my gear die. That's awesome. If your boss is in line of sight, increase the maximum range of this action by 2. Well, that's kind of cool. All right, so I could gain one of these. Why not? We'll just gain that one, and then we get another one as well. Now, I could be gaining dice as well if I wanted to. Power Incarnate. Whenever you kill a minion or remove a boss action card, refresh 1 action die, or refresh an action, or refresh a die. So when you refresh an action, you would, of course, remove this, put this into the discard pile, and then you could use that action again by placing another die there. But of course, if you are refreshing a die, you get to gain a die and put it back into your spot. That's absolutely awesome. I don't see why. I believe it's, oh, the refresh the die is going to come from your discarded dice. Okay, that makes more sense. Then we've got move accelerator. When you finish a move or teleport action during the hunter's phase, you may discard a green die to deal 1 damage in range 0 or 1. Sure, we'll keep that. Whatever. I don't think it's going to matter. Guys are so dead. But at least it shows you a little bit, again, more of what these characters have. And then we do have some more defense cards and more attack cards for her, which is kind of cool. Also, we're not going to see what happens when our characters become corrupted. But when they do, they all have these awesome miniatures. Like here's our Technomancer that is corrupted. Look at how awesome that character looks. She is going to be able to also gain Power Surge. After you flip to the corrupted Technomancer side, immediately gain another die. So again, making you more powerful. You get 17 health now, and during your turn you may discard a gear to move up to 2 spaces, so it gives you a little bit more movement. Our Gunslinger, I'm just going to show you that one as well. It gets that cool looking, sorry I bumped the camera, it does get this cool looking miniature, of course. I think I already showed it to you. This one says always ready. At the beginning of the hunter phase, you may load a bullet to any bullet slot. After you kill a minion, remove a boss attack card, you may load a bullet into any bullet slot. That's awesome. Prepared bullets. When you resolve an action that deals damage, you may discard any bullets to be able to gain their abilities. Okay, awesome. So if we could have got corrupted, that would have been something we could have done with our characters. So they do become more powerful, which is pretty awesome, along with these extra cards you get too. And with that, I think that's going to be the end of the playthrough. I've been able to show you kind of how the game works. I hope you enjoyed how it works. I think this is pretty cool. I love that. Now, there are cards that move this boss around, I believe, as well. So, for example, Cyclonic Spear. Move 2, then if it's not forced, it's going to move 2. Each hunter within range 0 to 2 from the boss will take 3. So the boss does move around the board. It doesn't just stay in one position. It just happened to be the cards we got kept it in that one place. Now, one thing we didn't get to see is some of the boss stage cards. So here's one of those. Tempest Wrath. Place this card near the event deck. This is an additional permanent event that stays in play until the end of the game. Don't discard or replace this with another event. Resolve it during each boss step 1, the event phase. At the end of the boss step event, activate all tornadoes. Oh my gosh, the tornadoes are just going to start moving around the board. That's no good. Those tornadoes are nuts. And then of course we have other stages too, Hellish Tornadoes. So these all are probably going to have to do with the tornadoes running around the board. Here we have another one, Twin Tornadoes. You get to put more tornadoes out on the board. That's pretty amazing. So those are some of these stage decks. Now, of course, these come out about every 4 turns, which is kind of cool. We didn't get to do any damage to the boss. It was too hard to get damage the boss with, but we did take out the elite. I'm pretty proud of us being able to get the elite out. That was pretty awesome. Now, there's not a lot of healing. There were a couple cards out that could have healed us. We could have spent a couple of magic to be able to heal too, but I don't think any healing in the world would have saved me. Now again, this is all prototype, so I'm sure going forward, a lot of this will change. I would say the difficulty of this game right now is out of control. This is my second time kind of doing a play of this. I did kind of a test play to see if I could run the rules right, but and it pretty much had the same outcome. I was pretty much dead by turn 3. Now, of course, the Undead General could be a little bit easier or could be a little bit harder, but I figure being stage 1, this would be the easier of the bosses. I could be wrong. Another thing you didn't get to see is the spawning of minions. The minions will come into this game and they're placed down 2 per player up to, and they're going to be placed out onto these numbered areas out on the board based on which one you'd be placing. So we have 1, 2, 3 minions out there already. So our first minion being placed would go on to 4. Then we'd also place one on 5, 6, and 7. So those minions would also come out. That'd be the next turn they'd be placed out there. So you'd have those 4 minions again out there on the board as well. If you ever couldn't, if I was standing in this spot or you had a minion or something already in this spot, you would just not place the minion. So that's maybe a strategy, is to find a way to be able to stand onto these spaces when the minions are about to spawn so they don't spawn and then they have less things you have to deal with on the board. There's probably a lot of things I just didn't get right in this game when it comes to the strategy of how you're supposed to take this guy down. But that was a quick playthrough of Grimcoven. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when more playthroughs from Colin and myself come out. Also, please feel free to leave anything in the comment section below. Are you interested in a boss battler from Awaken Realms? I'll tell you some of the things I really like about it is there's other things to interact with out here other than just the boss. I think that's kind of neat that you have, like, for example, the wells, you've got those carriages and things that are going to be able to add more to the game instead of just trying to figure out how to take this boss down. There's other things that you can get to be able to help take down the boss. And I like the fact that you can take out a little bit of these minions to kind of power yourself up enough to maybe get into the boss and be able to start attacking him. If this is a game you think you'd be interested, please check out the link to the GameFound crowdfunding tab in the description of this video. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out the Patreon. The link to that is also found in the description of this video. Those that have joined the Patreon are shown here on the screen. Thank you so much for your patronage. It does mean the world to me. When you join the Patreon, there are a few perks. One is that you get to see all the playthroughs that Colin and I do, usually about a day or two ahead of time without commercial interruptions. Also, in many of our playthroughs, I do let the Patreon supporters choose the characters that we do play with in our playthroughs and also help us decide how our characters evolve in some of the campaign games that we play. Again, thank you so much for watching this prototype playthrough, and if you're excited to see what Colin and I have coming up next, then I need you to meet me at the table.